Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. With the European series winding down, let's take a look at some of the best cars that came out of this series. I'm going to make this a relatively quick video. I'll give you my opinions, but we're not going to go into specific tunes. Coming out of the series, the best car without a doubt is the F1 W11. However, this is a tough car to get fusions for, and I don't foresee this becoming a top usable car for a lot of newer players. That being said, it is the newest, fastest car in the game. It is a super low performance point, high Evo car with the right upgrades and fusions, and it builds up very quickly. So it is all around a great car, assuming you can get the fusions. Again, compared to the other cars in the series, this thing definitely stands out and is one of the top cars now in the game, regardless of other factors. So definitely the best car to come out. And that is kind of fair in that the prize car in the series really should be the best car to come out of the series. That being said, let's look at some of the other ones that are also quite excellent coming out of this particular series. We're here now with the R18 Etron Quattro, in my opinion the best car in the series for me. Simply because Audi is easy to build. I was able to acquire some stage 6s. The car with some stage 6s, the proper ones, is quite the beast when it comes to live racing and is very, very good. On top of which, it is also easier to drive than the F1 car, so making this my top pick for the series, although without a doubt the F1 car is the top car coming out of the overall series. That being said, this car is so good that it stands toe-to-toe easily with the Bentley GT3, which is also the best live racer to come out of the American series, despite the Indy car being faster. Now, that all being said, this right now, with the proper stage 6s and some and full fusions from Audi, which is again easier to get, you can get very substantial Evo out of the car, and it is quite good in the 7.7 lobby. So one of my favorite cars to come out of the series, the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. Another car that came out of this series is the Ferrari Enzo. While it is not a prize car and is simply a lock-in towards a prize car, this happens to come out as one of the better cars in the series. I am somewhat biased because I think the Enzo is one of the nicest and coolest Ferraris of all time. So obviously I have a desire to kind of put this car on a podium, even if it's not the greatest overall. However, that being said, the car actually is decent. In fact, it is probably the best Ferrari in the game at the moment, both from a tuning standpoint and overall usage. However, it is not as good as the R18 or even some of the other cars in the series as far as making high Evo, being able to dominate in live and other things. But that is not to take away from this car. It is one of the cooler cars from Ferrari that we got in the game, and it is tunable to beat dyno and still maintain a relatively decent ratio of performance point to Evo, so it is a viable live racer and certainly usable long term as a car in my garage. Another great car to come out of the series, and yet another car that is not a prize car from the series but turned out to be very good, is the 720S GT3. Again, a low performance point high Evo car, easy to drive, and McLaren fusions being plentiful, relatively easy to build. These cars with the low performance point high Evo setups sometimes don't even require stage 6s, making them quite useful for even newer players. And this one is definitely one of the better McLarens in the game, if not one of the best McLarens currently. Not to take away from the McLaren Senna GTR, which is also quite decent. And that bears mention, even though I haven't quite picked it up yet, the Golf livery Senna GTR is also a good car in this series. And it is just slightly better than the one from the American series. But nonetheless, 720S GT3 coming out as one of the great cars coming out of this European series. the Aston Martin Vanquish Zagato shooting brake. Another car that is not a prize car, but a lock-in car from a Duality Cup. This car, again, well, I guess you could call it a prize car because it was from a Duality Cup. But bottom line is, this car is quite good with low upgrade, high evo, easy to drive, Aston Martin Fusions being plentiful. This is definitely one of the better cars to come out of the series and has long-term use in live racing. However, these cars that I'm mentioning right now are not necessarily going to make or break your showdown league because a lot of them, one, won't be used, and two, are really not the kind of car that gets top positions in showdown necessarily. But we're looking at it from a live racing standpoint, and this is definitely one of the better cars to come out of the series. Another car that surprised me a little bit was the Zonda Senna or Senna. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but this particular car, again, with minor upgrades, carries very decent evo, relatively easy to drive, and can do pretty well in live racing. Now, remember, all of these cars coming out of the series are really fast cars, and fully built or even fully fusioned at stage 5, a lot of them are in the performance range of beating Tempest 3, definitely beating Tempest 1, and most of them can do Tempest 2. However, with all of these cars, you have to really watch what they can get from stage 5 only. Some of these are only 9-second cars, whereas the R18 is like an 8.0 car or 8.1 car with stage 5 only, which make it still one of the top choices all around, no matter which kind of event you're looking at, whether it's live, map, or even Tempest. However, the Zonda is definitely one of the better cars to come out of this series. Another car that is worth mentioning, although I don't consider it a really good car, but it is probably the best roadster style car right now coming out of the series, is the SC20, which is quite decent, but not quite what I would consider a dominating car. Nonetheless, it is not as bad as some of the other roadsters that we've had from the series, and therefore I think this car is worth a mention as one of the better cars to come out of the overall series. So that all being said, the final top car without a doubt goes back to the F1, but those are the other ones coming out of the series that I would consider to be very decent. If I were to have to put them in order of some sort, I would probably have to put the F1 as number 1, R18 number 2, and then from there, really, it's kind of a hard gauge to judge the other cars. They all come pretty close, although I would have to say, as good as the Enzo is, it is still falling towards where the Zonda is in the lineup, meaning it is one of the more bottom end of the good cars coming out of the series versus, say, the Zagato Coupe, which is actually one of the best cars, and the 720S GT3, which is also very good. So those are my top picks for cars that came out of the series. If you were thinking of pushing to build certain cars that you acquired, those are the ones I would say put some effort into. They have long-term usability and probably will serve you well in live racing in the future. In any case, thank you for watching this video with me, and please feel free to give me your opinions and feel free to ask questions. If you like this video, leave a like. If you like my channel, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell and get notifications when I put up new videos. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.